Now, earlier this year, a new political party was formed which has the aim of changing the face of British politics. It's called Justice for Men and Boys and the Women Who Love Them, and claims that the interests of men and boys have been ever more assaulted in the UK for more than 30 years. So do they need their own political party? Well, John O'Farrell is an author who stood for the Labour Party in Eastleigh, and Mike Buchanan is the leader of Justice for Men and Boys. Mike, why set this party up?
Men collectively pay some 72% of the income tax take in this country, and women only 28%. In cash terms, that's around £64 billion more. But for over 30 years, men have been ever more assaulted by the actions and inactions of the state. Whenever legislation or official guidance favours one gender over the other, it always favours women over men. I'm not aware of a single piece of legislation which favours men over women. And the coalition is just as bad as the Labour administrations.
Could I just ask you about the tax? I mean, don't men pay more tax because they earn more?
They're also far more likely to work full time. They also work in a lot of dangerous areas, which attracts a premium. So, I mean, over 95% of work-related deaths are of men.
John, to what extent have the interests of men and boys been assaulted over the past 30 years?
I don't think they've been assaulted at all. I think this is about equality and addressing inequality. And I believe it's in the interests of men and women that we work towards a more equal society where women are not discriminated against, as they so clearly are, in so many areas of public life.
In what way would you say women are discriminated against?
Well, I mean, on any statistical analysis of, boardrooms, judges, newspaper editors, you've got 5% of newspaper editors, 13% of judges are women, less than a quarter of members of parliament are women. I don't know if Mike thinks this is too many. I think that maybe he thinks there should be fewer women MPs. But I think we need to be active. I think we need to be active and take action to make sure that we live in a more equal society, because that's better for men and women.
Mike, you can't deny that women haven't exactly taken over with those kind of statistics.
No, they haven't, but it's perfectly well understood exactly why women are represented in those kind of numbers. In the year 2000, a renowned sociologist, Dr. Catherine Hackim, published her preference theory, and her researchers basically discovered that 4 out of 7 British men are work-centred, only 1 in 7 British women is. So you often hear women talking about wanting a better work-life balance. I've yet to hear a woman who says that mean that she wants more work.
She's quite a controversial sociologist, actually, and she's associated with the Centre for Policy Studies, which is a Conservative Party think tank. The idea that women are choosing to have these lower-paid jobs and pay less tax, I'm sure women would love to pay more tax if they had better-paid jobs. Men dominate in the best-paid jobs. They dominate in the positions of power. And the reason I'm glad I'm here as a man is because it's not good for men, and it's not good for Mike to be in a society where men so sort of take charge, elbow their way to the front, and as a man, I experience positive discrimination every day when I walk out my front door. The way a policeman will talk to me, the way if I complain in a shop, if I approach a bar to buy a drink, I experience positive discrimination. And I would like to live in a more equal society where men and women are treated, on more equal terms.
What's wrong with a more equal society, Mike?
I'm all for equality of opportunity, but equality of outcome is basically it's a left-wing social engineering experiment, which is having lots of unintended consequences. So for example, the state ensures that men pay their ex-partners to financially support their children, but fails in return to ensure that those men are given reasonable access to their children. And as far as we're concerned, that's an emotional assault on both men and on their children.
It's a left-wing social engineering experiment.
Well, any assault on the status quo, you might say, is left-wing. You might say the abolition of slavery was left-wing. You might say that giving women the vote was left-wing. I don't know at what point in history Mike thought that we lived in an ideal society where things were as they should be. Was it when women didn't have equal pay by law? Was it when women didn't have the vote? In any progressive movement, you will have a backlash. And whenever there is somebody trying to make things fairer, you have somebody who says, "Oh, I feel assaulted." And Mike, I'm afraid, his movement is the sort of male equivalent of the Ku Klux Klan was to the abolition of slavery.
One of the things I read in your website was that you believe feminism is a curse. Is that not just the backlash that John is talking about?
No, I think for over 30 years, the only brand of feminism that's been of any significance in British society has been militant feminism. And it's undoubted it has been a scourge.
How do you define a militant feminist?
Somebody who wants equalities of outcomes, for example, regardless of the relative numbers of men and women who are qualified for jobs and who'll work as hard.
It is also, John, undeniable that men have suffered in some areas. They seem to have fallen behind in cancer treatments, although we did hear good news this morning about prostate cancer. And it is undeniable that many more men commit suicide than women.
Well, the reasons that people commit suicide are many and complex, but on the issue of cancer, the numbers of deaths from breast cancer have come down enormously, and that's because action was taken. Still more women die from breast cancer than men die from prostate cancer, slightly. But if Mike is wanting to address that good cause, then I would applaud him if he was putting his money into researching prostate cancer. But no, he's got a campaign which is hate-filled and it's misogynistic. He's demanding compulsory paternity tests for men at in NHS births, that every time a child is born, blood is taken from the man and the baby to prove that he thinks maybe 30% of men and women are lying to their partners about the parentage of the child. There's a whole string of things on the website which are really quite misogynistic, and I would say, why don't you concentrate on things like prostate cancer and ex-servicemen sleeping on the streets, which are worthy causes?
Can we perhaps talk about domestic abuse and violence?
Well, hang on, let's get your answer to the paternity test. You said not blood. How do you test it? How do you test it?
Well, just with a swab in the cheek. I mean, it's
okay.
I mean, for 99 pounds. I mean, would we really expect a woman to work 20 years or more to support another woman's child? We wouldn't. So why is it then that we expect men to do the equivalent?
Why is this an issue? Why is this even something that's in your imagination? That out there are all these women lying to men. I think that. I don't know what has gone on in your background to give yourself this mission that is so anti-women. But
it's not anti-women at all.
You would be a much happier and balanced person if you put your energies into something more positive.
We're actually getting a lot of support from women, and especially mothers of boys who see their sons being demonised and disadvantaged in a very feminised education system, and they're fearful for their futures. Quite a few of our donors are mothers of boys.
How much of a threat, John, to the conventional parties is Mike likely to be?
Well, there is already a man's party. It's called the Conservative Party, the Labour Party, and the Liberal Democrat Party. All of these parties are dominated by men,
but they passed anti-male legislation.
Well, they passed legislation, and not enough of it, trying to make us a more equal society, a more balanced society, which would be better for men and women.
You have included men, boys, and the women who love them.
Yes.
Who are the women who love you, who are supporting you?
There's you mean financially supporting them? I mean, I've had probably hundreds of supportive emails and plenty of donations from women, and as I say, particularly this group, mothers of boys in particular, really understand what we're doing, and they don't want their sons growing up in a society which demonises and discriminates against them.
Some of them don't. I have to tell you.
Yes,
some of them.
Yes.
I have to.
I mean, on your website, it says first you quote Gandhi. First they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, then you win. I would say this for your campaign. It'll be just first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they ignore you again.
Well, this is my 10th BBC radio interview in 22 days, John, so I don't feel terribly ignored at the moment.
Well, Mike Buchanan, John O'Farrell, thank you both very much indeed. We will watch closely at the next election.